This is Kate McBride for AdvisorOne, here today with James Fanto, professor at Brooklyn Law School. Jim, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm happy to do this.
We've just come from the fiduciary study, the SEC's fiduciary study panel, and we've been discussing these fiduciary issues pretty much all morning. But for this quick interview, why does fiduciary duty, putting investors first, matter so much?
Well, I think it matters because you have to think, for me, I think, because investors today, even more than in the past, depend very much on their financial professional. And we've just been through a major financial crisis, so they're looking to their financial professional for advice generally on how to invest and what to do. So the burning question is, what are the obligations that that financial professional, whether it's a broker or investment advisor, has toward them?
What do you think that this means to the financial services industry? It's some of this people have been saying all morning is an issue of trust. I mean, the fiduciary is, of course, an issue of trust, but investors really have not been so trusting after what has happened to them. What does extension of the fiduciary duty to brokers who provide advice do for those investors?
Well, I think the fiduciary question is a very important one now with respect to the financial industry, because again, I don't think the financial industry can underestimate how much their reputation has suffered in the crisis. And so a fiduciary duty, which is basically what are the obligations of the broker or the investment advisor, however defined to the client, matter a great deal. Now the proposal is to take the advisor fiduciary duty and say now that, well, it applies to a broker when a broker is giving advice, but it's not clear entirely how that fiduciary duty will be defined. But I think that will be very critical because the clients in this environment and in light of the crisis are looking to their advisors or brokers for help.
And it does make a very big difference whether the client's interests are put first or the firm's interests are put first.
Right. I mean, I think, if you think what's happened in the crisis, the whole sense about the financial industry is that the financial professionals were essentially in it for themselves. That when when the dust cleared, the financial industry has done pretty well despite a major calamity that has affected the economy and affected employment. So in a sense, what you don't want is this sense that financial professionals can, continue on as normal, offer products that will benefit them and not the client. So the fiduciary duty, when they say put the client's interests first, sounds very good. Says, well, that's what we need now. We need financial professionals who are not just benefiting themselves, who will end up on top no matter what, but that the clients will do as well, too.
How do the big broker-dealers, the banks, the insurance companies that have brokers, change their culture enough to actually effect a fiduciary standard for those who are giving advice? Does it become a model where some are strictly in sales and some are strictly in advice, where you cleave the model down the middle, or are there other ways to do this?
Well, I mean, that's been proposed, or we were talking this morning, and maybe it will come to that, where you just say to some brokers, all you are really execution people or outwardly salespeople, wearing signs saying, I'm just a salesperson or I'm just an execution person. And surely there's a role for those people, in the industry. And that's the tough thing, because some clients will say, well, that's all I want, and that's all they'll need. And so maybe you'll migrate the other stuff over to pure advisors who have the duty. But I think there are going to be people in the middle, and I think what this study is and ultimately we hope as a proposal is we say for the people in the middle, when advice is asked of them, then they have to take on a fiduciary duty. And I don't know how that will play out, but I suspect there will be brokers who will not just be salespeople, you know, and so it will matter what the duty is, what duties they'll have. Now, they have duties already, but this is kind of just a different orientation, saying, well, you know, when you're giving advice, you have to think of your clients first. Okay, and you have to put aside that sales orientation.
Putting clients first, and not
Yes.
just disclosing that responsibility away.
Well, we'll see what happens, because I think the issue is, well, what will that duty be? And there's some language in the proposal or in the staff study, in the SEC staff study, which says, well, maybe disclosure is all that's needed, and I don't think that's going to be adequate.
So do you have an idea of what those who do want to become fiduciary advisors will need to do to change from, if they are, let's say that they're at a broker-dealer or an insurance company now and they want to be fiduciary advisors, however those are titled after that. What kinds of things will they need to know in order to be effective, to use best practices, to actually do this? And
well, you know, in some ways, again, you know, current brokers under FINRA regulations and under, you know, the SEC rules and the law, which has imposed duties upon them, they are under, you know, a pretty broad set of duties. So in a way, if a broker is acting properly, the broker is thinking about, well, is this best for the client? Is, you know, is this product suitable for the client? You know, am I being balanced in my sales presentation? So there's a lot there already, and I think the brokerage industry has said this about fiduciary duties. In some ways, to then say, well, you think about your client is really just shifting an orientation and telling them, well, you have these pre-existing duties, now let's just push them forward. So that will be what a broker who's not going to the full step of becoming an investment advisor, which a lot of registered representatives do. You know, they can go over and say, well, I'm going to do the test and whatever's needed.
Jim Fanto, professor at Brooklyn
Law School.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm Kate McBride for AdvisorOne.
Thank you.